Well, the Yankees did everything in their power to lose this ball game, and the Detroit Tigers let them do so. We'll talk about that and more all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Welcome in. Happy Wednesday, everybody. The Detroit Tigers win by a whopping score of 12-2 over the New York Yankees in the Bronx. They improved to 83-62 on the season, while the Yankees fall to 80-64. 9 of those 12 runs the Tigers scored were in one inning. That was, first thought, an all-time meltdown by New York right there. That is a Yankees collapse of epic proportions. I want to say this too. I actually thought the Tigers played a really competitive and professional and solid ball game in the first 6 innings as well, right? It was 2-2 going into the top of the 7th. Mize and Warren, I thought both looked really sharp. Warren, that fastball is something fierce. His sweeper is really effective when he locates it well. I thought both starting pitchers did well, and I think that this was a really fun and kind of back and forth ball game the first 2/3 of it. I thought the Tigers had a lot of competitive at-bats against the pitcher that was throwing pretty well. I want to bring that up because I don't want the only story from this game to just be, wow, the Yankees were historically awful in the 7th inning, and that's the only difference in this game, and that's all that matters, and that's the only reason the Tigers won, et cetera, et cetera. Tigers looked good well before I thought that. But it is what it is, right? Like, the reason you won by 10 runs was certainly because of I mean this, okay? This is not me being, overly dramatic or hyperbolic. I really do mean this. That was one of the worst pitched innings I have quite literally ever seen by a Major League Baseball team. One half inning sample size. That is one of the worst half innings of Major League Baseball I've ever seen pitched. The Tigers hit around and still had 0 outs in the inning. I mean, the Yankees were walking everybody. They were plunking everybody. The few balls that were strikes were literally middle. I mean, the Yankees had 2 different pitchers go 0.0 plus innings pitched on the game, and they threw in the same inning. Like, 2 different pitchers didn't record an out in one inning. Like, it's hard to even wrap your brain around how horrific that was. And the Tigers, you know what? I give them credit. Don't get in the way. When a team is crashing out, don't be a hero. Let it happen. What's the quote in Moneyball? Somebody bunts, don't be a hero. Just throw the ball to first. Say thank you. It's a free out, right? In this case, it's a free walk if you just don't swing long enough. So, great job. Great win. I'm not going to, act like this was some masterclass. Oh my goodness, the at-bats were the best they've literally ever been. And the Tigers crushed really good pitching. No, they just didn't get in the way of terrible pitching. And that's part of baseball, and we will celebrate the heck out of it. They don't ask how, they ask how many. And at the end of the day, this is a big game one win in a series against the Yankees in the Bronx, where now you only need to split one of the next two to take home a series win on the road against a team that is right in the battle with you for a first-round bye in the American League. Nicely done. What went right? I do want to start with Casey Mize rather than the offense, because I do want to make sure that it's very clear how good he was. 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks, 8 strikeouts, 2 home runs against. That's a 3.83 ERA on the season. It probably won't go down as one of like his best starts of the year or anything like that, because he did give up 2 home runs, but I legitimately think that is one of his best outings of the entire year. I am thrilled with what I saw on Tuesday night from Mize. His splitter was the best we have seen it in literal months. We have not seen that version of Casey Mize's splitter since maybe June. It was fantastic, except for the one he threw to Aaron Judge that got hit, 400 feet. But Aaron Judge does that all the time. Who cares? Tons of swing and miss on the game, but on the splitter specifically in an 8 strikeout performance. The slider was stellar outside of, again, one awful like sweeper slurve, whatever you want to call it, to Bellinger that got hit, 900 feet. But like, this is again, like some of the best that pitch has looked, I think, in months. The fastball sat 96, 97. This was an incredible start. He was hitting spots. The stuff had a life to it that we haven't seen from him in a while. This was a huge moment and a huge start. And it won't be remembered because everyone's just going to remember 9 runs given up in 1 inning by the Yankees and how it ended up being an uncompetitive ball game. But for 6 innings, while Casey Mize was on the mound, it was a competitive ball game, and he rose to the occasion. And I want to give him all the credit in the world because I have been very critical of Casey Mize's performance since the All-Star break, really since the start of July. I've been like a broken record just coming on this show every day for the last, 2 or 3 weeks, just begging any other starting pitcher to be effective and productive. And this is now 2 outings in a row for Mize where he has been really solid. So now it's about consistency, right? He has lacked that to an extreme level this year. All-star in the first half, ERA over 7 until 2 starts ago after his second start in July. That's a really niche, kind of specific, hand-picked, subjective, whatever period of time. But that is what we're hoping to see. Hopefully he can be the guy that steps up the rest of the way and be that starting pitcher 2, SP2, in the rotation that the Detroit Tigers desperately need. Hopefully he can be that, because this was stellar. He was shining on the brightest stage. Okay, let's keep the ball rolling here. I got a lot more to talk about. I haven't even touched on the offense and the individuals in that regard. We got to talk Chris Paddack as well, and a lot of stuff from this outing as well. We'll do all of that right after this. First, though, got to talk to you all about our friends over at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just use the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however I like to bet. Player props, building same-game parlays, or even jumping in live as game action unfolds. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Also got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at Nutrafol. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. Well, there are so many products out there, it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. That's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. And it's not just hype. This is the supplement clinically tested that targets the root causes of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. There's so many great features here. Obviously, I got a heck of a mop, as people used to call it when I was growing up. Whether you're at work, out with friends, or even just getting ready in the morning, Nutrafol gives you more confidence in your daily routine, giving you thicker and fuller hair. Simple to add to your everyday routine. 4 pills with a meal. Can I speak? 4 pills with a meal, no prescription necessary. It is easy. So see thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off of your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter promo code Locked On MLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code Locked On MLB. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2, Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. And we, of course, will be back tomorrow, recapping game 2 of this series. And hopefully the Tigers can just go in there, first 2 games, guarantee a series win, and, see what happens the rest of the week here. But this is a really important series for both of these teams, and it's nice to have a low-stress final third of the ball game like Detroit did in the Bronx on Tuesday night, and that had to do with, again, a 9-run 7th inning by the Detroit Tigers. Really, I mean, the Kerry Carpenter hit was a big hit, obviously the triple, right? But before that, it was just walks. It was just, they didn't swing the bat, and it worked. Passed balls, wild pitches, walks, hit batters. Let's get into some individuals that shined in this one. Parker Meadows, man. Parker effing Meadows. 3 for 5 with 3 RBI, a 2-run homer, and a single to break the tie in the 7th inning. Now, again, that ended up being a 10-run ball game, but in the moment, you're thinking, wow, it's the top of the 7th, and Parker Meadows just hit a go-ahead single to give the Tigers the lead in the 7th inning, and he has all 3 RBI in the game. And that was a really cool few seconds that was the case. He ends with, what, a quarter of the RBI? Crazy. Life comes at you fast, okay? And then that plus the defense in center field, man, like he is such a dynamic baseball player. He is such a difference maker when he is on, and that is something that I have probably to an exhausting and over-the-top amount tried to reiterate and really drive home on this show over the last 2 years. It's just like this dude can be legitimately one of, if not the most valuable position player on this team if he can hit and stay healthy all season. And so we saw kind of a flash of that in the last 2 months of 2024. Hopefully we see another glimpse of that here in the last month of the season and in the postseason in 2025. Let's actually stop like beating around the bush here and actually talk about the 7th inning. So Cruz has command issues, okay? And that's not an uncommon thing for him, but he also has one of the highest strikeout rates in literally the entire sport. It's like 40%. So they gave him the Alex Lang treatment. They're like, we're just not going to chase anything unless it is clearly over the heart of the plate. We're just going to spit on it and hope it falls out of the zone. And that's what happened. Now, eventually it got to the point where, again, just like nothing was even close and nobody that was on the mound could find any glimpse or even, nick the strike zone. So they just stopped swinging altogether, and it worked wonderfully. But we said going into the series, like the way to beat the Yankees is to keep it close and get to their bullpen. And this to an extreme that certainly I didn't expect and nobody expected, but it kind of did highlight that point. Just at an unsustainable, will never happen again extreme. That's all. So yeah, good for the Tigers, man. An epic meltdown, and the Tigers again just kind of stepped out of the way and let it happen. Spencer Torkelson had 3 walks in this ball game. One of them intentional. We'll talk about that later. Trey Sweeney had a bloop hit in this one. Dylan Dingler. So Dylan Dingler has a hit. He walks in a run, etc. Behind the plate, Dylan Dingler put on a framing clinic. The Yankees dugout was extremely frustrated because they were getting calls against them that they weren't getting on the mound. And obviously, you're going to yell at the umpire in that scenario. Most fans and players and coaches do, because that's the person making those decisions. Dylan Dingler was in his bag. Okay, that was a framing and receiving masterclass, truly. And you see it a lot with Mize in general when he is locating the splitter well, and I guess the fastball well at the bottom rail. And that is what he did. And so they reap the benefits of that very, very often. And Dylan Dingler has been one of the best pitch framers in baseball this season. I mean, I don't even think there's anyone else offensively to specifically highlight. It's like, Carpenter with the big triple. That was awesome. Riley Green had a couple of knocks. Gleyber Torres got on base 3 times. Like, I don't know, man. Like, everybody, Colt Keith got plunked. Like, everybody got on base at least once. Andy Ibanez scored a run. He didn't even take an at-bat because he just pinch ran for Gleyber. Like, yeah. Everybody deserves credit. Everybody ate, especially in those final 3 innings. I do want to highlight Colt Keith's defense at third base. Made a couple of really nice plays. He had one off of Cody Bellinger, who tried to sneak kind of, a bunt past him and just like, oh, you're playing back. I'm going to try to get you, kind of laxed. And Colt Keith just coming in on the ball really, really hard toward the plate. Throws him out at first base. I thought it was a fantastic play, and that's going to be important for the future of like Colt Keith's development and role in this organization, is like, what positions can he and can he not play? So I thought he looked great there. And then I guess to put a bow on what went right, Chris Paddack was solid. He got 3 innings of the lowest leverage you can possibly fathom, but it was 3 innings of shutout baseball. It was actually 3 innings of perfect baseball. Didn't allow a base runner and had 4 strikeouts. His ERA is down to 5.26 now on the season. So one thing, that's his first career save. I think it's that Benetti was saying it's his first like professional save. Like, it's literally his first save as at any level, in any capacity, as a professional baseball player. So tip of the cap to him. But I think the biggest takeaway from that is not the box score or anything. Like, who cares? Again, the game was out of hand. But it's the fact that the velo was way up. And that does happen. That naturally happens when you move a starter to the bullpen, right? That changed the trajectory of Gregory Soto's entire like baseball career. He was a starter. He was kind of okay for the Tigers. They moved him to the bullpen. He threw 100. They're like, okay, well, that settles that, right? So Paddack, and I'm not trying to compare Chris Paddack to Gregory Soto. I'm just saying that happens across the board. That happens with everybody. And seeing it, the stuff, looks a little bit sharper. And so we'll see if he can be a valuable multi-inning reliever down the stretch for Detroit. If they can just salvage any sort of value from Chris Paddack the rest of the way, that would go not only a long way just in the optics of what you did at the trade deadline, but obviously the focus now is just winning ball games and getting as deep into the postseason as you can. If he can be a valuable multi-inning reliever, then that's needed right now with only 4 healthy starting pitchers and the playoffs around the corner. What went wrong? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if there's really anything. This is a rare instance. Usually I can find something to overly complain about. I'm not sure there is. The two bad pitches Casey Mize threw, like if you want to get super, super, overly critical, but like he knows that, and he had a great outing. So who cares? Every single Tiger got on base. Both Tigers that pitched were phenomenal. This is a rare instance. The defense was great. This is a rare instance where there's really not too much to say. I guess maybe you hope for more runs off of Warren there in the first 6 innings. But like 2 runs in 6 innings off of a guy that has, a 3.5 since the All-Star break and has stuff that looks like that, I'm not really too upset over. And again, they were in the ball game. They were competitive at bats, and he's been solid since the break. So I don't really think I have anything that went wrong. This was just wonderful. Okay, let's talk stuff. We'll do that right after this. Got to talk to you today about our friends over at Game Time. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person, but actually getting tickets, well, that's the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees. It takes all the fun out of it, and that's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. Game Time is fast, it's easy, and it's backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. All fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. The app is made super simple. I could even see the exact view from my seat before buying, and fees are included. I drive this point home all the time because it's so important. You know your total up front. This is not like pretty much every other app out there where you press the tickets you want and they say one like nice little pretty round price and you get the checkout and it's $1 billion higher. This is no surprise fees at checkout. The price you see is the price you pay. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always. So actually have a lot of stuff in from this ball game and from this calendar day, I guess, in general. Zach McKinstry scratched before the game with back tightness, upper body tightness, I think is what the team technically called it, but it sounded like it's his back. Hopefully that's nothing serious. McKinstry has obviously not been like as, all-star caliber as he was in the first half, but that wasn't really the expectation. I would significantly prefer Zach McKinstry at shortstop than Trey Sweeney. And honestly, with the way that everyone's been playing lately, probably Javi Baez too. So we'll see. But that is something that the Tigers definitely are going to want to make sure he's good and healthy and ready to go the rest of the season. Something about Paddack that I want to highlight is not only, we talked about how his stuff looked and like the numbers of the outing, but that was a really valuable 3 innings for the sense of you don't have an off day until next Monday and you're on game 1 of a 6-game road trip. The Tigers only used 1 reliever in this game. 2 total pitchers. Casey Mize goes 6, Paddack goes 3. They are now fully rested. Their bullpen, at a minimum, has gotten 2 days off, if not more, depending on who you are, heading into game 2 in what could be series-deciding victory for the Tigers if they were to win on Wednesday. So really important. Again, if any sort of value they get out of him the rest of the season, I'm going to be pleased with, even if it is not in the role that we necessarily expected at the trade deadline. So a couple of things the Yankees did were ridiculous in this ball game. One, you have the bunt decision, which Benetti rightfully, absolutely laid into the Yankees about. I couldn't agree more. That decision is staggering to me. And again, I don't know, being a 10-run game, whatever. But like, you have one of the most prolific and home run hitting lineups in baseball. Slugging lineups, I should say, in baseball. And I know like Volpe's always a big talking point online and whatever, but you, well, I with no outs, I have no clue why you're laying down a bunt there. You're trying to turn the lineup over. I get that. You're giving up an out with still the 9-hitter due up. And then you're like, I really do not get it whatsoever. I think that was a ridiculous decision. I think Casey Mize laughed at that decision, especially then after Trent Grisham is up as the leadoff hitter, 2 men on, Aaron Judge on deck. It's a 3-0 count. And Mize throws a splitter on up and away on the black that for some reason Trent Grisham swung at. Routine pop-up to center field. That was some of the worst fundamental baseball you will see in that half inning by the New York Yankees. And they could have manufactured multiple runs there if they played their cards better. And I mean, who knows? They go to different relievers. This game looks totally different. So I guess thank you is what I'm saying. But like that was really kind of jumped out at me as a wild decision. And then the other one that just was, I appreciate the, still trying to win no matter what the score is. You have to do that as a manager. That's why they pay you. Intentionally walking Torkelson down 10-2 in whatever it was, the 8th inning, I think, was just wild optically. Actually, I think it might have still been the 7th. I think it was still the 7th. You've allowed a billion base runners, and you're going to give a free pass to another one. Yeah, that hasn't really been hitting particularly well lately either. I know it was a lefty on the mound, and Torque has been crushing lefties all year, but just a weird and wild ball game, man. Gleyber Torres returned to the Bronx for the first time since leaving. That was kind of cool. Something that's fascinating about Gleyber in his return to Yankee Stadium there is just that he is a completely different player than he was at the beginning of his career, man. Like, I don't know if people realize that. I know we talked about it when the Tigers signed him, and in the first couple of months of the season, it was a big talking point. This is a guy that hit 40 home runs for the Yankees. He has a 40 home run season under his belt in 2019, was an all-star, etc. Now, he might end the season with a slugging percentage under 400, but also for a large portion of the year had more walks than strikeouts on the year, and is just like this work the count, make you throw 9 pitches whenever you face him and try to get on base guy. It's so fascinating. He's only 28. Like, it's so fascinating how his profile has changed so dramatically over the course of his, 6 or 7 year career. So tip of the cap to Gleyber for, figuring out a way to another Moneyball quote. Apparently we're just quoting Moneyball today, but Billy Beane says adapt or die. Right. And that's kind of like, I feel like kind of what Gleyber is doing in his approach there over the years. What else happened? Before the game, Bailey Horn to the paternity list. Congratulations to him and his family as they welcome their child. Drew Somers back as the Tigers want to make sure they have another lefty in the pen, but we'll see how long Bailey Horn is out and if Somers even gets into a ball game here before he comes back. The only other thing I really thought was funny in this game was when Kerry Carpenter hit the triple. Joey Cora does the thing he does where he points to the baseball, and Kerry Carpenter pointed back at Joey Cora, and all like the dugout laughed and stuff. I just thought that was funny that they're aware of it. Like, it's everybody knows who Joey Cora is, and that's the dog, absolute legend. And I thought it was a funny moment in the game. Okay, game 2, you got Jack Flaherty against Carlos Rodon. Go win a series. They're not going to be giving up 9 runs in an inning anytime soon again. But Rodon is really good and has had a solid season. So really same mindset. It's just not going to be as dramatic, right? You need to get to the pen as early as possible, and you need to do damage against said bullpen when that opportunity arises. All right. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. And we will, of course, be back tomorrow recapping Game 2 against the New York Yankees. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all then, baby. Go Tigers.